Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, brought to you live from Seoul.
The main opposition party takes the wrangling over the stalled spy agency probe to the streets, while the ruling party claims the protests are the epitome of irresponsibility.
And speaking of irresponsibility, former tax office chief Jung Gun-pyo has been arrested over bribery allegations. Details just ahead.
Korea battles a bad case of red tide with red clay. We'll show it to you on In Print.
Jung Chan-sung fights Sunday for the UFC featherweight title. Check out our interview that we had to preview the fight.
Handmade goods are becoming ever more popular in a flood of mass-produced products in the fashion industry. We take you to Handmade Korea Fair 2013. They are wooing and wowing their fans with their cute and sweet charm. Korea Today sits down with six-piece girl group Apink and reveals some of their hidden appeal on this Friday, August 2nd, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And thank you for joining us on Korea Today. As you can see, the streets, there aren't that many cars because it is the peak of the vacation season, the last week of July and the first week of August. And while there are many people who are hitting the mountains as well as the beaches with their family and friends, there are some who choose a different option.
That's right. There are people who are choosing to spend their vacation with the underprivileged. For some children at child welfare centers, vacation is a luxury they can't afford. So what these people would do is go and have fun with them, play with them, just to give them a good vacation. And it's a really good vacation for everyone involved. And so if hours of traffic jam is not your cup of tea, maybe this might be an idea.
All right, giving back and spending some quality time with children. That's
right.
a perfect way to spend your vacation.
All right, we'll go to Na Young-kyung for a look at the day's headlines.
Not much progress has been made so far on the National Assembly's special probe on the country's spy agency. The two main rival parties are still locking horns on the list of witnesses involved in the case. The main opposition Democratic Party spent Thursday on the streets protesting actions from the Saenuri Party. Party chairman Kim Han-gil says the public will not understand the ruling party's logic.
The ruling Saenuri Party's refusal to continue the parliamentary probe is a clear monopoly. As to why they cannot agree to having former spy agency chief Won Se-hoon and former Seoul Police Agency chief Kim Yong-pan as witnesses is inexplicable.
The ruling party condemned the opposition, saying its acts are utterly irresponsible.
It seems like some DP hardliners are trying to break up the parliamentary probe because they think it won't give them a politically advantageous ground, even if the investigation is a smooth sail.
Now, all of this, of course, comes a month after the two parties agreed to launch a parliamentary investigation into allegations that the National Intelligence Service swayed public opinion in favor of the ruling party in last year's presidential election. Former National Tax Service Commissioner Jung Gun-pyo has been arrested early Friday after being grilled by prosecutors for 14 hours. Chun is accused of receiving $300,000 in cash and luxurious goods from former CJ Group chairman Lee Jae-hyun in return for helping the food and entertainment conglomerate avoid tax audits back in 2006. Chun reportedly admitted to accepting the money and goods, but denied they were in return for any favors. And on Thursday, the Seoul Regional Tax Office Chief Song Kwang-jo announced that he will step down from his post. Song is also suspected of receiving kickbacks from CJ Group. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will not be visiting Japan's controversial Yasukuni Shrine on Korea's Independence Day on August 15th, according to Kyodo News. The report says the move is part of Abe's efforts to refrain from straining diplomatic ties any further with neighboring countries, including Korea and China, as the shrine symbolizes Japan's imperialistic past, honoring around a dozen convicted war criminals. Meanwhile, Japan's Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso has retracted his earlier remarks that suggested Tokyo should learn from Nazi Germany's constitutional reform. On Thursday, Aso explained that his comments were taken out of context and said he holds an extremely negative view of the Nazis and the Weimar Constitution. Korea's consumer prices grew at their fastest pace in 5 months in July, but remained in the 1% range for the 9th straight month. Statistics Korea said Thursday that the nation's inflation rate rose 1.4% last month from the same period a year earlier, after rising 1% in June. The rate remains well below the central bank's inflation target band of 2.5% to 3.5% this year, but experts are cautioning against possible price hikes in the second half of the year, citing currency fluctuations and the increasing price of agricultural products as their main reasons. Now, meanwhile, the nation posted a trade surplus for the 18th consecutive month in July. The Trade Ministry says Korea logged exports of $45.8 billion last month, up 2.6% from a year earlier.
And happy Friday, everyone. We'll begin our sift through today's paper with a look at the front page of 조선일보. It covers reaction from Japanese Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso's latest inflammatory comments. Headline reads, Jewish group and German media ask Aso, have you forgotten Nazis' atrocities? As you heard in the headlines, Deputy Prime Minister Aso has recalled his comments that Japan stands to learn from the Nazis' unconstitutional reforms, but damage appears to be done. The article reports that the influential Jewish human rights group, the Simon Wiesenthal Center, asked the high-ranking government official whether he has forgotten Hitler's atrocities that pushed the world into a whirlwind of chaos, giving rise to the Second World War. Other international media have also raised their voice, it says, as it cites the Washington Post as saying that Aso's lack of understanding has hit a blow to Japan, while China's Hwang Gushi-bo said his comments revealed his own idiocy. Now we'll leave that there and take a look at the front page image. It shows a sea of bronze, and the title says it's red clay being sprayed as red tide grows across the southern coast. Now, the red tide have handed fishermen and government officials here in Korea a big headache as the harmful phytoplankton near the water surface have sucked up oxygen in the waters and caused tons of fish to die off, resulting not only in an economic hit, but also a gigantic cleanup effort. And the hwangto, or the red clay being sprayed there, it is being sprayed because it is believed to suck in the plankton and cause it to sink to the ocean's floor. And the caption says that this year's case of red tide came the earliest in 10 years, that is on July 17th. And scooting on over to our next newspaper, 중앙일보, we'll take a look at the big story on many of the dailies this morning. Headline reads, NLL political battle, 43 days. Only losers in this bloody fight. And the image shows the main opposition Democratic Party taking its battle outside as it promised yesterday at the Seoul Plaza. And you can see its leader, Kim Hang-gil, leading a general meeting at the so-called tented Situation Room. The newspaper criticizes the continuation of what it calls misjudgments by leading players of the country's two major political parties, adding that the ruling Saenuri Party has failed to cast its vision that the country comes out looking like a fool while livelihoods of the regular people take a back seat. All right, scooting on over to 경향신문 now. As you can see, a similar image there. Also, 동아일보 has a similar image on its front page. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at this side story covering the latest high-ranking exchanges between Beijing and Pyongyang. 동아일보's headline reads, "No stopping UN Security Council's sanctions, direct warning to Kim Jong-un." Now, the statement was made by China's Vice Minister Ri Wian-chao during a face-to-face meeting with the North's leader Kim Jong-un late last month. And he is the highest-ranking Chinese official to visit the North since Kim Jong-un came into power. The newspaper says Li's trip is viewed as an urging on Beijing's part to nudge Pyongyang back into the six-party talks so that they can move forward in denuclearizing North Korea. The paper says full recovery of the two once blood brother nations looks to be unlikely for a while. And finally, taking a look at our business newspaper for today, we will take a look at this headline here. It addresses some possible changes in real estate ownership guidelines, and it reads, "Real estate penalty reduction when switching names from borrowed to real." Now, some here in Korea have opted to register their properties under the names of relatives or others for various reasons, but in 1995, a law was passed that outlaws such borrowed name registrations. And now the Ministry of Justice is reviewing measures to either reduce penalties on such registrations or allow installment payments on them when the homeowner wants to switch from borrowed name ownership to real name ownership. Now, the paper quotes an analyst saying that this move comes from the logic that it's better to bring such transactions out into the open, which could help the finances of local governments and also bring more transparency to the real estate market. And the ministry is likely to amend the existing law sometime in the second half of this year.
Now, Eunice, let's just take it back to the first article where Deputy Prime Minister of Japan, Taro Aso, he retracted his statement. He's made some statements in the past that's been provocative, and he's built a reputation around this, right?
Right. He said the elderly people should, quote, hurry up and die, unquote, because they are a burden on society. And he also joked about people with Alzheimer's disease. So he has a track record of some bombshell statements.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he at one point also say the most ideal country would be where the richest, that attracts richest Jewish people? I mean, that in and of itself is just absurd.
And it's also ironic, isn't it, given that his latest comments does quite directly offend that very Jewish demographic. And, you know, these past comments were also brought up not only in this article, but also by the foreign media, according to the newspaper, as well as media in Japan, who have also been quite critical of the Vice Prime Minister. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Friday. Next up are your closing numbers from Thursday's market action.
It's Friday and the peak of the vacation season, so we have to get a look at the weather conditions.
Yeah, we sure will. But we're hoping that the weekend will cooperate. For more on that, we're joined by Lee Dami from Goyang in the Gyeonggi province. Dami, good morning.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Kintex in Ilsan of Gyeonggi Province. Now, I heard there's a special insect or 3D insect exposition that's taking place. But first, let's talk about the weather. This morning, we're starting off at about 24 degrees Celsius. It does feel a bit stuffy, however, because of the humidity and probably the gray skies that we have this morning. Now, on this last day of the work week, most of the nation will be receiving precipitation. Now, the monsoon front is moving towards a northbound direction. So down south, you may have already started to see some showers. You can expect up to 50 millimeters of rain today. Now, as for the central regions, we did see a glimpse of the rain this morning. It has momentarily let up, but by midday we can see a continuation of these showers and expect up to about 20 to 70 millimeters of rain. So depending on where you are, you can receive little rain or a fair amount. Either way, being prepared is a good idea. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather across Korea. Here in the nation's capital, highs will reach up to 31. Daegu will peak up to 33. Gangneung and Busan will be similar with highs at 29. And lastly, Jeju Island will be scorching hot at 33 degrees. Now, over the weekend, we can continue to see sporadic showers, but hang in there because it looks like we'll be seeing the last of the monsoon showers next Tuesday. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
You're watching Korea Today, and we're based in Seoul, but I can feel that things are already heating up all the way in Rio de Janeiro ahead of a big match involving the Korean zombie, right?
That's right. The Ultimate Fighting Championship will feature the Korean zombie, also known as, or his real name is Chung Chan-sung. And he is ready for a title match. And to tell us more about that, joining us is our sportsman, Jason Lee. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Big is this match?
How big is the
A lot
UFC?
of fuss over this, huh?
This is humongous because, Chung Chan-sung is the Korean zombie. He is fighting for the UFC featherweight title. Now, if he does win, he would be the first ever Asian-based fighter to become a UFC champion. So this is a monumental fight for him. There's never been a UFC in Korea. I would venture to say that if he were to win, maybe even if he doesn't, but certainly if he were to win, I think without a doubt we would see a UFC event here within the next calendar year.
Okay, the UFC is a huge monumental type of thing now, MMA, mixed martial arts fighting. Now, some say that this actually has taken the popularity away from boxing.
Oh, it clearly has. There's no doubt that boxing, everyone remembers Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Muhammad Ali. Tell me who the heavyweight boxing champion is right now. You'd be hard-pressed to do so, whereas everyone knows who Anderson Silva is. People know Georges St. Pierre and perhaps even Jose Aldo right now. So MMA is certainly becoming much bigger as a sport, and Koreans are becoming much more prevalent in this sport. Not only is Chung Chan-sung among the elites of this sport, but there's also Kim Dong-hyun. Of course, we saw Chu Sung-hoon before. So there's many fighters that are doing really well, and the Korean zombie is certainly one of them. And of course, I had an opportunity to sit down and have a chat with them to preview his fight against Jose Aldo, which is this coming Sunday. So let's take a look at that interview.
In 2011, Chung Chan-sung awed the MMA world when he knocked out Canadian Mark Hominick in a stunning 7 seconds. Chung, known for his reckless and persistent attacks, along with his ability to take a punch, have gained him his infamous nickname, the Korean Zombie. He now has a title shot against UFC featherweight champion Jose Aldo. Original challenger Anthony Pettis went down with an injury, opening the door for Chung, giving him one opportunity at a UFC title, a first for a Korean fighter.
You've been waiting, obviously, a very long time for this moment. How do you feel now that you finally get to fight Aldo?
제가 MMA를 할 때부터 처음부터 목표였던 선수랑 하는 게 아직도 잘 믿기지가 않을 정도로 꿈만 같은데요. 사실 다른 사람들도 다 알지만 일단 기술적인 부분에서는 전혀 완벽하다고 볼 수 있는 선수고 그걸 저도 알고 있기 때문에 근데 특별히 어느 부분에서는 제가 더 자신 있는 부분이 있거든요. 그 장점을 잘 살려서 영리하게 풀어야죠, 게임을.
What do you think that advantage is that you have?
제가 거리가 더 긴 것 같아요. 리치가 더 길고 그리고 이거는 맛부터 봐야 알겠지만 멘탈적인 싸움은 더 자신 있습니다.
Jose Aldo's record is impressive. Since his debut in 2004, the featherweight champion is 22-1 with 13 knockouts. Unstoppable in his weight class, he is known as one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Beating one of the greatest fighters in the world is a daunting task in its own right, but making it more difficult will be fighting Aldo in his own backyard in Brazil.
그거는 어디서든 마찬가지인 것 같아요. 어차피 한국에서 시합을 한 적이 없었기 때문에 항상 미국에서 했고 미국에서 미국 사람들이랑 싸웠기 때문에 조제알도도 크게 다를 것 없다고 생각하고 있어요. 항상 이겨왔지만 걔도 똑같은 인간이고 저 똑같은 인간이라고 생각하고 있습니다.
What are the differences for training for 5 rounds? Because it's almost double what you might normally be doing.
사실 3라운드 시합이랑 5라운드 시합이랑 경기 준비하는 것 자체가 좀 다른 것 같아요. 모든 걸 5라운드 시합이라는 거에 초점을 맞췄고요. 일단 아무래도 러닝이 중요하다는 거는 되게 기본이고요. 그리고 훈련을 할 때도 짧게 이렇게 확 치는 게 아니라 이렇게 좀 길게 잡고 그리고 게임 플랜에서도 초반에 약간 무리하지 않고 후반을 약간 도모하는 뭐 이런 식일 수도 있고 뭐 여러 가지로 좀 생각할 게 많은 것 같아요. 그리고 제 계획은 5라운드까지 가지 않는 것이 목표입니다.
It's been 15 months since Jung's last fight. Part of the long layoff was due to injury. And while he's healthy enough to fight now, he points out that no one is ever 100% healthy as a fighter.
격투기 선수한테 부상이 없다고 하면은 좀 그런데요. 잔부상이 좀 되게 많아요. 지금도 뭐 굳이 감추고 싶은 생각은 없는데 잔부상은 어쩔 수 없이 다 있는 거라고 생각해요. 알도도 분명히 100%의 몸은 아니라고 생각하고 있거든요. 뭐 그래도 이 정도 동기부여의 정신 그런 게 지금 너무 맑다고 그래야 되나? 지금은 그런 잔부상을 뛰어넘을 정도로 제가 지금 이게 강하게 원하고 있었어요, 벨트를. 네, 충분히 어느 때보다도 몸 좋습니다.
The odds are stacked against the Korean zombie, but if he can pull off an upset, it would be a monumental step forward for the sport of MMA in Korea. It could lead to a UFC event in Korea and bring attention to a sport that is often not mentioned in sports headlines for its violence and alternative image.
Your fight against Aldo perhaps represents more than just you fighting Aldo. It could also explode an industry into new heights. Is there any of that weight on your shoulder as well?
사실 저는 누구를 위해서 그렇게 싸우고 싶진 않아요. 일단은 처음은 제 자신, 제 꿈을 위해서 싸우고 싶고 나중에 따라오는 거는 그렇게 뭐 발전이 되든 아니면 안 되든 따라오는 거는 거기에 맡겨야 되는 것 같아요. 제가 일단 제 꿈을 위해서 제가 열심히 하면은 뭐 알아서 따라올 거라고 믿고 있습니다. 진짜 저한테도 이런 기회가 다시 오지 않을 거라고 생각하고 있어요. 그 정도로 각오 임하고 있고 이번 기회를 반드시 무조건 잡을 생각이에요.
And still ahead, they're called the pixies of K-pop. Apink is sweeping top music charts in Korea with their sweet charm. We meet with the girl group to talk about singing, acting, and their growing fan base. And Denny Hong brings us more on the show, and he's all smiles. All right, time now for INStyle, and guess what I have for you, Young?
For me.
Happy Friday! This is a handmade bouquet, isn't it?
Oh, you're right. Okay.
You're not very impressed, are you?
Big thing.
I don't know. I didn't know what to say.
All right.
But happy Friday to you, and it's made with handmade flowers, and there's something unique about handmade goods when it comes to quality, and also that sentimental value.
And the
Yeah, of
time that it
course.
would have taken to make all these.
Right, and there was a big, large-scale event that showed everything handmade. So let's take a look at that event.
Handmade goods are pieces of art, not mass-produced by machines but made with meticulous care. Unlike manufactured products which all look alike, handmade goods are much loved for their high quality.
Instead of preferring products with the same design that have been printed out in factories, people are showing more taste for goods that suit their taste and flavor.
At this year's Handmade Korea Fair, the third installment and the country's largest of its kind, we take a look at some of the fashion trends in handmade goods. Some 300 artists from 12 countries took part in this year's fair, and it created plenty of buzz for showing off all of the latest trends in handmade products. Here, more than 5,000 products were on display, ranging from fashion goods such as clothes, shoes and bags to necklaces, earrings, brooches and other jewelry. And the handmade clothes were of interest to many. Because each and every stitch is created by hand, the designs are unique and the quality is also outstanding.
I create this myself with a sewing machine. I'm making a scarf and a dress.
I'm drawing on these clothes to create something that doesn't exist anywhere else.
One of the most popular attractions at this year's Handmade Korea Fair was experiencing handmade firsthand, where people got to make their own clothes.
I'm proud of making this myself.
It's my first time trying this out, but it's easy, pretty, and fun to do.
And it's not only in clothes, visitors also got to make their own eco bags, also another popular attraction.
Unlike ready-made goods, this feels very special.
It's good to get a taste of someone's work firsthand.
The reason why handmade goods are drawing attention these days is because consumers are increasingly getting tired of fast fashion, where trends change quickly with a fast supply and consumption of clothes with SPA brands. Rather than following the mass trends, people want to express their individuality and uniqueness through slow fashion. Handmade fashion can be considered a leading trend of slow fashion. Although it takes so long to make and may not reflect the latest trends, the work is full of craftsmanship and there is only one of its kind in the world.
It's worth owning, and I like it because it's only something that I can have and not others.
Each and every piece has a life of its own, and they're all different. That's the strength of handmade goods.
Something else worth noting at the fair this year was the wide variety of accessories, and of them, this mother-of-pearl brooch made out of earshells was particularly popular.
We created this hands-on program to try to keep the much disappearing traditional crafts alive.
Because of the craftsmanship and individuality that goes into each piece, the goods can fetch a handsome price compared to other manufactured products. Despite this, why are so many people interested in this trend?
The rough, not-so-polished look, I think, is what makes handmade goods interesting.
And all of these items are handmade, like this birthday cake over here that says happy birthday to you. It's handmade. You can get these party decorations and decorate the whole atmosphere with these dolls as well as the flowers over here. But you know what? I'd rather keep the flowers because they're from Minjang, so.
Which you didn't appreciate at
I know,
the time.
I was surprised. They come completely from left field.
Yeah, and these are handmade accessories. I mean, the one good thing about this is definitely it's unique. That would be like the most, I think, attraction of the handmade accessories. But I think this one is really.
What is that cute thing?
It's caught my eye. It's so cute.
You're holding
isn't
it upside down.
I think I am. Yes, I'm very rude. I'm being rude to the handmade bag, but I think it's for
Hold
kids.
it up next to your face. I want to see the striking resemblance there.
Yeah, Minjung said her nose is kind of like my nose. I don't know if you can see it, but
the
yes.
great thing is that you can get your children involved too in the making of these bags and these birthday cakes and these flowers. It's really great.
Sounds great. This is a perfect gift. I mean, it has a lot of sentimental value added to it. So handmade goods is the thing these days. All right, it's 7:28 a.m. on Korea Today, and Denny Hong will be joining us in just a moment. But first, we have your top 5 songs from the K-pop charts.
So I've decided young Kim doesn't deserve my bundle of flowers,
Wait.
and these are for you.
Good
So
morning,
you give them to me,
Denny.
you take them back,
Right,
and you give them
and
to some other
to
guy.
Denny, right?
I'll take them. I'll take them. They're nice, you know.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
You're back from meeting a girl group, a lovely girl group. So probably those flowers mean nothing to you, right?
Yes. I met some real flowers out there this past weekend. Right? Okay, so I met with Apink a couple of days ago, and actually, I gotta say they have this very girl next door quality to them, which we'll talk a little bit more about, I guess, after we take a look at just the interviews that we had with them. But they are growing in popularity on the charts, and they released their newest album about a month ago, actually. So it's called Secret Garden, and this is their mini album after their debut album from last year. So let's take a look, and of course, see what they had to say during the interview. The pixie doll group Apink has captivated the hearts of Korean men.
코리아 투데이 시청자 여러분, 하나, 둘, 셋. 안녕하세요, 에이핑크입니다.
After releasing their first studio album last year, the girl group is back with their new mini album, Secret Garden, after a year and 2 months of a hiatus. Let's go and meet the six-piece group Apink, fully recharged with their brand of cuteness. Apink is at their best these days, grabbing #1 on music charts of top K-pop shows with their new song No No No, for the first time since their debut 2 years and 3 months ago. So since your debut a little over 2 years ago, you recently topped the charts on a lot of different popular K-pop shows. Can you please tell us how does it feel to have that status right now?
처음으로 공중파에서 1위를 했는데요. 저희가 1년 2개월 만에 컴백을 했는데도 불구하고 이렇게 많이 사랑해 주셔서 너무 감사하게 생각하고 있고요. 앞으로 더욱더 열심히 해라는 의미로 받아들이고 더 열심히 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
The cute and lively tunes of No 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 is full of Apink's pink charm.
저희 이번 타이틀곡 노노노는요, 지금까지 저희 에이핑크 노래처럼 들으면 좀 편안해지는 곡이고요. 그리고 노노노의 가사처럼 힘들고 지칠 때 언제나 힘이 돼주겠다는 힐링곡입니다. 여러분 힘들 때 많이 들어주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
Now I imagine there's been a lot of struggles you had to go through to make it to the top. So can you tell us about when was the most difficult time for you?
공백이 길었던 만큼 조금 준비할 때가 가장 힘들었던 것 같아요. 오히려 빨리 활동을 하고 싶었고 빨리 팬분들과 좋은 노래로 좋은 무대 하고 싶었는데 그게 또 마음처럼 되지 않으니까.
Meanwhile, it's not only singing. The members are also busy with acting and other entertainment fields. Jeonmunji has made her name as an actress in popular dramas, The Winter the Wind Blows and Reply 1997, and has shown off some stellar performance in the musical Legally Blonde.
고르기나 해.
Not only that, after starring in a drama, Son Na-eun has been featured with Chinese Taemin on a reality show where the two are involved in a virtual marriage, giving the star an extra boost of popularity from her fans. So Apink is not only very active on the stage as performers, but also behind the camera. So how is that different being on the stage as well as behind the camera as an actress?
솔직히 연기할 때나 무대에서 노래를 할 때나 카메라 앞에 서는 거고 대중들 앞에 서는 거기 때문에 크게 다른 점을 못 느껴요. 아직까지는 멤버들이 있고 없고가 가장 큰 다른 점인 것 같고 아직까지 둘 다 너무
내가 이런 감동적인 멘트 미안하다.
아직까지 둘 다 너무 연기할 때도 그렇고 무대 설 때도 그렇고 긴장되고 떨리는 마음은 같은 것 같아요.
Is there any specific roles that you would like to play in the future?
김선아 선배님과 김정은 선배님의 이렇게 여자로서의 당당한 매력 그리고 뭔가 털털한 매력을 보여줄 수 있는 캐릭터를 언젠가 해보고 싶어요. 네.
제가 연기를 할지는 잘 모르겠지만 만약에 하게 된다면 하지원 선배님 같은 액션 연기를 한번 도전해보고 싶어요.
Apink has been dubbed the quote-unquote vitamin for soldiers who are serving their mandatory military service, following the popularity of Girls' Generation and 4 Minute. You've also seemed to have grown a rather large fan base among the military troops, and you have performed for them several times. Can you please tell us about some memorable experience performing for the troops?
저희 몰라요라는 곡에 언니의 파트에 어쩜 그리 빵 이런 부분이 있는데
박수를
거기서 그 엄청난 군인 오빠들께서 이렇게 다들 손을 이렇게 안무를 따라해 주시더라고요.
깜짝 놀랐어. 다들 일어나서 박수를 치시길래. 네, 정말.
네, 그런 에피소드가 있었습니다.
In their recent fan meeting, the girl group attracted a vast variety of fans, ranging from all age groups, showing off just how popular they are. So what are your plans and goals for the future?
저희 에이핑크 일단 노노노로 더 열심히 활동할 예정이고요. 앞으로 여러분들께 항상 더 성장하는 모습 그리고 발전하는 모습 보여드릴 수 있도록 더 노력하겠습니다.
코리아 투데이 시청자 여러분, 미니 3집으로 돌아온 에이핑크 노노노 많이 사랑해 주시고요. 앞으로도 많은 활동할 거니까 기대 많이 해주시고 많은 사랑 부탁드립니다. 지금까지 에이핑크였습니다. 감사합니다.
So that's how you are around pretty girls.
It's
quite different from what you are now.
That was the biggest
All
smile I've
smiles.
seen on Denny Hong's face. So how was it meeting them in person?
Well, you know, again, when you meet them, I think they're very welcoming, for one. They actually just kind of walked in, they're all smiles, like walking in. They had recently just finished up working before the interview. I think they had some commercial shoot they were working on. And so they came, of course, all dressed up together. But there is definitely, as you mentioned earlier, kind of a girls next door feel to them because it's, I don't know, there's an innocent image to them overall. And I think each member has a certain quality to them as well, too. There's like the tough one, there's the cute one, the shy one. So like they all have different personalities, I think.
And it's not only in acting, but they're not singing, but they're also making a name for themselves in acting too, some of the members?
Yeah, two of the members especially. We have Jung Eun-ji. She actually did the musical Legally Blonde as well too, and so she played one of the lead roles, as well as she was in Reply 1997 and That Winter the Wind Blows. So she's been making her mark as an actress as well, and so has Son Na-eun when it comes to, of course, as the package said, she is in with Chinese Taemin on the We Got Married TV program, as well as another show as well too. So they have been slowly making their mark in the TV scene, but also a couple of other members have been doing variety shows as well. So they're beginning to grow their fan base a little bit larger.
Yeah, I've been a huge fan of Jung Eun-ji, I have to admit. She's such an adorable actress.
She's the outgoing one.
Yeah.
You're pretty adorable yourself.
Oh, thank you. But I mean, their songs necessarily, their dance moves are not necessarily can be called sexy compared to some other girl groups, but they are at the top of their game right now.
Yeah, I would say that the genuine trend is to have more of like, the outfits and the sexier dance moves. Not to say they don't have dance moves, but it's not geared towards that. It's actually just more on the cute side again. And if you look at the album cover actually for Secret Garden, their newest album, it's actually, again, just them hanging out like in a lemonade stand kind of,
it's right there behind us.
So if you look at it, it's just, it has a more nostalgic feel to it. So I would say their popularity comes from probably drawing on that 90s K-pop, first generation K-pop atmosphere. And so I think that's probably what's winning crowds over, because it's the alternative. Yeah, so I think it's a good thing.
And also when you see their image seems to be that clean-cut, very innocent type. There's been some talk about maybe girl groups these days exposing a bit too much. It's really refreshing to see groups like
Exactly. Right, so it's a wholesome image, I would say that.
Okay, thank you, Denny, for joining us
Can
today.
you leave the flowers there so I can give them to Matthew?
Okay, now that's exactly what's going to happen. You watch. You're going to give it to someone else now.
All right.
All right, thanks, Denny.
No problem.
All right, still ahead on Korea Today. A catfish festival is underway in Yangpyeong in the Gyeonggi province, where you can catch your own freshwater catfish and enjoy some energy-boosting dishes, from catfish on a grill to fish porridge. We bring you more on Korea Eats. But first, your sports updates.
One, two, three. Hello, I'm Jason Lee, and I'm here to bring you your sports. All right, let's talk about some golf. Usually when you pay attention to a golf tournament, you want to know who won.
well, in the case of this year's Women's British Open, the question remains, will Bagin B win? St. Andrews has dominated many men on the PGA Tour. Let's see how the women fared in the first round. This is Stacey Lewis, the second-ranked golfer in the world. Her third shot on the par 4 15th in the hole. Good for a birdie the hard way. She would finish 5 under 67. This is Chen Ayan. Shooting from the rough, her approach on the 15, she would be able to settle for a par on the hole, I guess salvage one you could say. She would also be among those tied at 5 under 67 after the first round. Junmi Jung going for birdie on 18. And she would indeed sink it. Also joining that group at 5 under 67. Big group, actually. 7 ladies tied there for third. Bagin B, meanwhile, was not a part of that group. She would be going for birdie on 8, and she sinks this to finish 3 under 69 in her opening round. That leaves her in a tie for 18th with 19 other golfers. Not too bad still. Morgan Pressel going for birdie on 13. She would shoot a 6 under 66. Good for a share of the lead with Swede Camilla Lennarth. Now back to Bagin B. So she's 3 strokes behind. Still, clearly in the hunt. She tees off today at 7:48 p.m. Korean time, if you'd like to see her go on in the second round. The greatest moment in Korean basketball history was when the national team beat China in the finals of the Asian Games back in 2002. Yao Ming was on that team for China, and he remembered it as the last game he played before joining the Houston Rockets in the NBA. Well, Korea played China in their first game of this year's Asian Championship in the Philippines, and lightning struck twice. Korea topped China 63-59. Power forward Kim Ju-sung leading Korea with 15 points, while Cho Sung-min and Yang Dong-gun also scored in double digits. Now, it's still just the group stages, so China's not eliminated or anything like that, but still a huge victory for Korea, who haven't beaten China at the Asian Championships in 16 years. Korea's next game is tonight against Iran. The most frustrating thing about having a 9th team in the KBO has to be when you're the second place team and you're the odd team out, having to watch the first place team get further and further ahead. Nothing you can do about that. That's LG's situation right now. Just last week, they were just a half game behind first place Samsung, but Samsung were now looking to make it a 4-game spread as they were visiting Kia. Park Han-yi singles to right in the second as that scores a run. Samsung take a 3-0 lead in the second inning. Fast forward to the fourth, and Samsung's bats continue to hit. Chang Hyung-woo, fair ball. He's been on fire as of late, doubled down the line, part of another 3-run inning as Samsung beat Kia 12-2. Chang Hyung-woo with 3 hits and 2 RBI. Third place Nexon could also gain some ground on LG. Kim Min-sung getting this one to left center for his 11th home run. And you know what? The bases were loaded, so it's a grand slam. 5-0 Nexon. Now, Hanwha did inch back to 5-2, but Son Seung-nak has been lights out for Nexon as a closer. He picks up his 28th save as Nexon hang on for the 5-2 victory. How about Doosan at Lotte? And we pick it up with Chejun Suk at the dish. Yeah, you know what that sound means. It's way over on the other side of the fence and left. That is a 6th homer of the year. It's a 3-run shot as the Bears take the lead. In the 7th, Doosan add to it, and they do it with former Lotte DH Hong Sung-hun, who smacks his 9th of the year. That's a solo shot as Doosan take the series 2-1 over Lotte, winning game number 3, 8-3. NC at SK, Na Sung-bum. Homers off of Kim Kwang-hyun for NC, and that is his 8th of the year. Rookie is slowed down a bit, but he's still knocking it out of the park. And NC ahead 5-2 in the third. Chan Jung makes it a little bit interesting as he cranks this out for his 19th homer of the year. That's a 2-run shot, making it a 1-run game at 5-4. And no game is guaranteed for NC's bullpen, so it does get interesting. Runners on second. 1 out for Chung Gun-woo. He lines out to second, double play to end the game. Im Min-ho getting his 10th save of the year, I guess doing it the hard way. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, don't forget to watch UFC 163. That is Sunday afternoon, noonish. Jung Chan-sung should be fighting probably around 2 o'clock. Of course, it's on cable TV for free in Korea. And if you can win, you know, you could say, you could argue that this would do more for Korean sports than even if Park In-bi were to win the British Open. I mean, only in that Koreans already dominate the LPGA. Whereas a win for the Korean Zombie perhaps could mean a UFC coming to Korea in the near future. That is your look at sports. Remember to eat healthy and get some exercise today.
제주도 푸른 밤 하늘 아래로
I think it's time for us to take a vacation looking at
Right.
that footage, right? But so Dami was supposed to be at a bug exhibition. Was that what that was?
3D insect expo with larvae.
Larva. They're very cute animation creatures, and we'll get a look at that with Tommy. Tommy, over to you.
I'm back reporting live from the 3D insect exposition with larvae that's taking place here at Kintex of Ilsan, Gyeonggi Province. Now this exposition will be taking place until September 1st, so you still have about a month to enjoy and have fun here. Now this is Korea's first 3D insect exposition, so it's not just looking through glass panes, but with these 3D glasses, you put them on, everything comes to life. So all of the paintings that you see are it's a totally different experience. So here at the exposition, there are mainly 6 sections, each differently themed, all equipped with panoramic 3D. And of course, if you like things classic, then there are also dead insects that you can look at. Now, each section welcomes the 5 senses of the human body, such as the sounds of nature, the sense of nature, basically all embraces nature, and of course, insects. Now, the whole exhibition is themed with these furry creatures called larvae. It is a Korean animation, and believe it or not, they're one of my favorite animations. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and put on one of the helmets. How do I look? I feel like a bug. Now, of the many experiences, this is just one, which is climbing into a spider's web. And I heard that as an insect, if you get stuck in a web, then there's no way going out. Well, this is your look at the 3D insect exposition with larvae. Come and enjoy and learn about insects. I'm Idami, Korea Today. Help me.
Very, very cute there. And Matthew joins us today to talk about a catfish festival. So are those flowers going to Matthew?
I cannot believe you accept my flowers, although they're hand-me-downs.
Thank you. I mean,
Recycling of flowers.
I mean, it's no larva hat, but I mean, I'll take it. But yeah, you're right, exactly. Catfish is what's on the menu today. And it's a fantastic fish. It's something I grew up with. It's got great flavor. It's one of the best freshwater fish as far as I'm concerned. So why don't we head over to Yangpyeong and take a look. There's something about it that makes you feel like a kid again. And all the more so because we're here today in Yangpyeong in Gyeonggi Province at the Sumi Village Catfish Festival. And it's a fantastic event for families. You can see there are a ton of kids here and they're all having a great time for good reason because it's beautiful out, you know, there's the water, there's the catfish. So come with me today, we're gonna have some fun and some great food. So they tell me that I need to rock one of these mustaches in order to catch one of the catfish to fool them into that I'm, thinking that I'm one of them. I've been fishing before. I've never had to do this, so I'm a little dubious, but they say so. Stole my fish. I have to beat him up now. All right. So this is it. This is the Meggie. This is the catfish right here. And of course, this isn't how you catch them out in the wild, but you know what? I kind of like what they have set up here for the kids. It's a lot of fun. And you know what? I've never caught a fish with my bare hands before. All right, so the thing about the catfish is that it's a freshwater fish, and it lives low down in the mud and in the weeds, so it can take on a kind of murky, muddy flavor. So there are two ways around this. You can either sort of camouflage the flavor, put lots of seasonings and spices in it, or you can go the other way around and cook it in a way that enhances it and makes it something really delicious. And that's what we're gonna do today. So all we're gonna do is just take these catfish right here, a little bit of salt on one side, that's it. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna take these guys and we're gonna cook it over some hardwood smoke. So salt and smoke, that's all it needs to bring out the best of the catfish. The great thing about freshwater fish is that when you cook it over an open fire like this, that murkiness, it doesn't go away, but rather it's complemented by the smoke. And the salt really brings out the best in the fish. It's delicious. You really have to try it one time. It's absolute chaos. This is literally the first time I've ever been in a river in a tractor before. Definitely a first. All right. So here we have 어죽, and it's a really funny dish because juk refers to porridge, and juk in Korea is normally made of things like rice, grains, beans, vegetables. So to have one made out of fish, it's really unique, and all refers to fish, and it's not as thick as you can see as other juk, as other porridges are, but it kind of has the same sort of rib sticking restorative effect. Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's made here with the catfish that we got from the lake, and it's spicy. It's got a lot of body to it. When I first had this, I was really confused because it doesn't look like a porridge, but the more I think about it, it makes sense. It falls in the same family because it has the same effect as other juk.
All right, so you get to catch your own fish, and they cook it for you. It sounds like a lot of fun, but I think I'll just have the food instead of catching the fish there. But every kind of a fish or every thing that we eat is said to be good for you in one way or another. Catfish, how is it beneficial to your health?
Well, catfish is a great fish because it's lean for one, so it doesn't have a ton of fat to it, and it has a ton of vitamin B12. It's got vitamin D, which actually we are generally tend to be a little deficient in because you find a lot of vitamin D supplements in milk. And then after childhood, we generally stop drinking so much milk. The one thing about catfish, though, is that it's a little high in omega-6. So if you suffer from things like blood clots or arthritis, then don't make it your main food, but at the same time, having it in moderation, even with those ailments, is not a bad thing at all.
Right. In Korea, usually though, we eat Maggi either steamed or you have it in a soup-based form, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like the meontang that we saw, that's probably the most common way of eating it. But in other countries, that's you generally tend to have it fried, grilled, and in India, in the Kerala region, they have it in a curry. And that they usually give that to people who have fevers, and it helps to lower that fever.
We're almost out of time, so just quickly, other things to do at the festival other than catching the fish and eating them? Right?
There's a ton of things. What is it? As you saw, you could take a tractor into a river, which was a unique experience for sure. And you can even go camping there for the evening as well. You can feed pigs. There are a ton of things to do there. It's a great way to just get out of the city with the family and have a great time.
All right, thank you, Matthew, for that.
Always a pleasure.
It's Friday, and that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
All right, have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday at 7 a.m.
Have a great weekend.